Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you're joining us from the world. I am so delighted to be with you this afternoon. We are talking attracting institutional investments with a very good friend of mine. And it's going to be super exciting here at the Grand Scale Motivation Show. Most definitely, you are going to be learning a lot. This gentleman is a chartered accountant, a chartered financial analyst with more than 15 years experience in private equity, corporate finance, financial management, and audit. His key competences include business acquisitions, restructuring, and portfolio management. Shingi has led acquisitions, capital raise, and business restructuring transactions in the food, manufacturing, commercial services, and agribusiness sectors. His roles also involved portfolio management, which included board and committee participation, where he contributed towards formulation of strategy to optimize and unlock value in business. I love this part because when we talk about unlocking value in businesses, this is what most of our entrepreneurs on this platform are looking to do, unlocking value. Mm-hmm. He previously worked as an investment principal at Takura Capital, a Southern African-based private equity firm, as well as a corporate finance associate at PricewaterhouseCoopers. He holds a master's in development finance, and is currently pursuing an Executive MBA with the London Business School. This gentleman and his wife, Rumbi, are blessed with 2 children, and they enjoy traveling and outdoor activities. Ladies and gentlemen, a drum roll for Mr. Shingi Mujaji. Shingi, how are you doing, my friend?
No, very well, thanks, Uno. And thank you so much for having me on the show. Delighted and appreciate the opportunity.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, maybe we want to just get onto it and talk about the subject of the day. But before we do that, let's get to know you a lot more. Who is Shingi Mujaji? Where did he grow up? And how did he end up in this attractive investment space that he is in?
Okay, so I'm just just a simple ordinary man, born and bred in Zimbabwe. Grew up, went to Kutama College, high school. After Kutama, I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers as an auditor. You know, one of the interesting stories I have about joining PwC is that I actually didn't know what type of work was involved. You know, I was like, when I got there, oh, all right, this is actually what auditing is. This is I just heard it was an accounting firm. You know. So I was surprised, but it was quite pleasant. I enjoyed it, enjoyed my time there, and that's also when I got to meet you as well, and we started our relationship there. Now, what's interesting, Una, is that when I was at PwC, you remember auditing, you'd be looking at past events, you know, and
right.
ticking out what people would have done, you know, and I just had this age that. Geez, I'm quite frustrated in looking at past events. You know, I want to be involved in the part that looks beyond, you know, the current, you know, and that's when I engaged the guys who were in the corporate finance department, became a shared resource for some time, and worked in corporate finance. And I loved it because essentially you're looking at the future of businesses, how you can help businesses raise capital, you know, do transactions, mergers and acquisitions and things like that. So that was more interesting to me because of the future. that we contributed. And then thereafter, I joined a corporate finance boutique. I was one of the owners there. It was called African Investment Markets. I was there for 2 years, literally just helping entrepreneurs raise capital, whether from the banks, whether from investors who wanted to buy an equity in their businesses. It was a very good stint. But at that time, I felt that I needed to change the gear somewhat, and an opportunity arose to join Takura Capital. So Takura is a Southern African focused private equity firm. Private equity, it sounds a big word, but really it's just people who invest in private businesses that are not listed. So it's primarily focused in Zimbabwe, but it also does investments outside Zimbabwe. So that kind of attracted me. I joined the team as an analyst. This is like the entry level, and then grew through the ranks. And I left at the time I was an investment principal. And whilst I was there, I got the opportunity of working on different types of transactions across sectors. And as you said, FMCG, agribusiness, services sectors, hospitals, retail, and here you're looking at working with investing in either companies that need equity, and these are like corporate companies, or working with individual entrepreneurs, whether it's one entrepreneur or a team of entrepreneurs who are coming in and saying, hey guys, we need some capital, we want to expand our business, or I want to cash in on my own business. So I want to sell part of my my equity in the business to someone else, so that I got money to use for something else. So it was quite interesting. So many interesting dynamics, working with entrepreneurs, working with different corporates, working with regulations, working with employees, because I also then got an opportunity to be seconded in one of the businesses for 2 years during that period. And this was really to restructure the business and get it aligned with the way we want to do things. So I got a good opportunity to, beyond just being an investor, also have an opportunity to run a business. So yeah, that's pretty much it. But one thing that I can highlight, is that at heart I'm also an entrepreneur. The time that I left A-level, together with yourself and Robert, one of our friends, we ventured out and started a new business, Daily Fresh. That was a mushroom producing business, a horticulture business. We had to go out and look for property that had mushroom houses, rent it out, get some employees. Once we were produced, we had to look for a market, and this is a perishable. So we had to deal with all of those things. And what was interesting is that we were only probably like 18, 19, 20 at that time. No cash at all, no balance sheet. So you had to use the little resources that you had, and be able to drive the business. But something that's linked to this session and interview that we're having is that we managed to attract somewhat an institutional investor to invest in us at that time. So this experience about trying to attract an institutional investor goes back even to that time where the business was really early stage. So yeah, that's a bit about me and where I come from, and a bit about my background as well.
Fantastic. Wow. Thank you for those reminders, Shingi. I like the fact that you are involved on both sides, working with entrepreneurs and linking them to investors. But at the same time, as an entrepreneur yourself, you had the opportunity to look for funding. And yes, it was a significant amount of money for us at the time when we started Daily Fresh, and I don't forget those experiences. They were, I think, they are experiences that you would seriously value.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, super foundational. I like that word. So, Shingi, what drove you into this investment space? What is it about you and what you like, or what drove you into it? I understand when it comes to chartered accountancy, you've just explained a little bit, but you've been driving in this investment space for a while, for at least over 15 years now. And your education and your experience all are leading to that one area. What's your driver?
Yeah, so if I go back to the time when I was at PwC, typically the route that one would take when you come out of an accounting firm is probably you look for a job in one of the businesses across industry, financial services, or whatever type of business, and you join the finance department either as an accountant or finance manager, and if you're fortunate enough, even senior levels such as a CFO. So when I looked at that career route for me, it wasn't as exciting because I'm someone who enjoys working on different types of things at the same time. I mean, typically in audit, you worked on different types of clients, you do this client and move on, do the other client, move on. And even in corporate finance, you work on a deal, close it, move to the next, work on. So it was all more or less all project oriented. And so that was quite attractive to me. And I decided to follow through that whole corporate finance and investment route because I wanted to work on several things at the same time. I didn't want to just get engaged with one institution and grow within it. I mean, it's a fantastic career path, but for me, my adrenaline would come out, knowing different businesses, mining, in retail, in hotel, in technology, and all of those. So that interest in me is the one that kind of drove me in that in that area, and also I like seeing things growing. I mean, as an investor,
Right.
what drives you is getting into something or getting involved in something, and then it grows. So I like that whole building something up, and hence, the attraction to go beyond just the corporate finance, which is all project related, to the investments, because you're now building value as you go through.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So now, in your most previous roles, both at PwC and Takura Capital, and in fact, even at AIM, you worked with entrepreneurs who were looking for more capital, as well as with investors who were looking to invest into businesses or banks. Explain a little more about how that process works, and then we can dig deeper into unlocking of value.
Right. Okay. So as I said, really, firstly, it just depends what the entrepreneur or the business is looking for. And initially, I alluded to the fact that certain entrepreneurs have built their business over time, and they want to cash in part of their investment, their sweat, and then they decide to say, look, I want to sell off my shares. So I want to sell off 40% of my business. And this is the value that my business is valued at. And as I sell it off, I manage to get payment from the entrepreneurs or from from the business, from the existing shareholders in the business. So this is just one person who just wants to cash out. So that's a motivation. And then the second one is really, and most people are in this a category where they actually want to raise capital, they have that capital injected into the business so that the business can grow. So essentially, a person is looking at, okay, fine, this is the business I've built. And as you discuss with people who are interested in coming into the business, there is what we call a valuation that is done of the business. Say, for example, it's valued at $100,000 or at $1 million US. You then ask the investor to come in with $1 million US and be able to offer them probably 50% of the business, because now you've brought in the existing business, which was valued at $1 million. They've brought in $1 million, and that's kind of 50-50. So those are the two types of categories that we normally find, where someone's cashing in, cashing out, or someone is actually looking for funding to be injected in the business.
Please confirm if you're still hearing me clearly.
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Perfect. So let's talk about the cashing in as one aspect, and let's zone into that. I mean, for most entrepreneurs, or some entrepreneurs, they're getting in, they're leading their businesses, but the idea that I could actually sell this business might not have occurred to them, that maybe they can sell this and get into another one, or that selling this business could be a fantastic exit strategy. What are some of the considerations that an entrepreneur needs to make when they are thinking of selling their business in the future? So I want to grow my business, but I want it to be as attractive as possible, so that when I want to sell it 5 years later, it is attractive and it gives me the highest value that I can possibly get.
Okay, so that's an interesting question, Ono, and it's good that we're talking about this now, where we're urging entrepreneurs and business owners to think about a potential exit and in a couple of years. And it's not typical of most entrepreneurs. I mean, people will say, I will die, in this business, or I'll pass it on to my children and things like that. But either way, whichever way you're going to do it in the future, it's always best to actually look at it from the outside, from someone probably who may want to buy that business in the future. And one of the considerations that people look at is essentially, okay, if, say, for example, if it's a new business, right, a relatively early stage business, you want to sell off some shares and maybe grow it together with the new partner. People are interested in understanding, how strong is the demand for the products that you're producing. Is there a need? Do you have a competitive advantage? Because those are the things that will determine whether your business will probably survive in the next 3 years or 4 years and things like that. Are there kind of barriers for other people entering in that sector? Because we are looking at how best are the earnings that you are producing in that business protected, and is there opportunity to grow because of the need? Yeah. So all of us, I mean, this is foundational, in that business really exists because they're fulfilling a need. So that story should be clear, when people are looking at your business, to say that, yes, there is this need and you are actually providing that need. And then secondly is a business should be profitable, it's interesting that there are certain entrepreneurs who actually don't consider profit and cash generation as a key performance indicator. It's not about being a busybody and running about. But at the end of the day, is what are you achieving out of it? What earnings, and by earnings I mean at the end of the day, you've generated your revenue, you've taken out of your costs. There is a profit at the end of the day. Part of this profit can be distributed to investors, to the shareholders, and people want to get a return on their investment. So making sure that you are meeting those performance indicators that you've set for yourself. Okay, fine. I've just started my business. A year from now, I want to have this level of profit. 2 years from now, I want to have this level of profit. 3 years from now, I want to have this level of profit. Now, if I have this level of profit 5 years from now, I'll be able to attract someone and be able to cash in, $5 million, $10 million, $100 million, $10 million, whatever it is. So that's how then you're now thinking, because at the end of the day, people are looking for value within businesses.
Fabulous. So profitability and cash generation are key. And also, when people are analyzing the industry that you are in, they want to know whether this is a growing industry, you are meeting a growing need, and there's barriers to entry in there, and competitive advantage. Shingi, can you expand a little bit on competitive advantage and barriers to entry? What are we talking about here? And how do I measure that for my business if I'm an entrepreneur?
All right. So a competitive advantage is one that, when people look at your business, I mean, you're not the only one who's doing that service in your business. Let's take grand scale motivation, for example. This is a motivation business, there's so many people who are running motivational type of businesses, but there are things that make Uno's business unique. Probably it could be the network that you have, which is now evidenced by the type of people you're bringing onto your shows, and the type of motivation and empowerment that is getting to your audience and people who you are fulfilling your need. I mean, this could talk about the brand that GSM has built, and this is quite a strong thing when you start looking at, consumer type of driven businesses. Brands are key. For example, in Zimbabwe, we know that at some point, business was tough, and brands left the market for 5 to 10 years. But after 10 years, some brands came back, and people were quick to pick them up because it had such a brand equity. We've got businesses that are synonymous to Zimbabwe, because of the brands that they've built. And so this becomes a competitive advantage where if someone else comes in and does their own, drink and put it on the shelf, there are existing brands that are out there that if they're on the shelf, someone will choose that brand, whether or not there's a premium to the price or not. So those are the kind of things that I would like entrepreneurs and businesses to think, to say, how are we going to make ourselves different? Other people make themselves different by the technology that they use. They're always ahead of the market. People find it easier to work with them. Other people differentiate themselves by their customer service. They ensure that when a service is given, there's a follow-up, there's service done, their people are well trained, they're good to engage with, they're always at their best, So it becomes a competitive advantage where one says, you know what, if I'm going to a hotel, no matter what, I'm gonna stay at this other hotel because of the service that they get, So recognizing that you're not the only one who's meeting that need out there, Therefore, you need to differentiate yourself. Yeah.
Okay. And then barriers to entry? Is it almost the same?
So barriers, again, exactly. Again, talking about, say, for someone who's invested in a certain technology, a lot of people are developing apps for their businesses, and I mean, it's not like you've got to raise $100 or $500 million now to bring technology into your business. I mean, people are finding ways of bringing technology, whether it's online selling, whether it's some app that interacts with their customers, and these are things that can now be developed at a reasonable cost, and people are doing that to be able to create a barrier for other people who will be coming in at a later stage, And as I said, brands are quite strong. So, when you look at building your business, don't look at changing names. Today you're called so and so, tomorrow you're called GSM, then next year you're called something else. People associate a service, a product with a brand, and it becomes a barrier, for other entrants who want to come in at a later stage.
I'm learning a lot from what you're saying, Mr. Mujaji. And now that was the cashing in bit that we were talking about. And then you said that there's some people that would want to cash in after they've built a business. And then there are some who are looking to get other investors to come in to their business so that they are able to maybe grow their revenue streams or grow their output and whatever. What are some considerations that entrepreneurs should make before they think of bringing an institutional investor into their business, one which they wish to continue with?
Okay. Yeah. So I think one of the key considerations, Una, is that a business is independent. It's independent of the entrepreneur. A business lives its own life. And one of the key challenges that we have seen is that at times entrepreneurs don't allow their businesses to grow, and really it's because maybe they want to hold on to the business, or they're a bit anxious about inviting someone else into their business. They think that maybe, a year or so later, someone can take my business and go, and I'm left with that, with nothing. I mean, and those are real concerns because we've heard about them, but there are ways of definitely managing,
protecting
those
interests. Yeah,
exactly. The importance of bringing in someone is good because it gives the business an opportunity to grow, to change from one level to the other. And really, when entrepreneurs think about potentially bringing in someone, they should think about what type of investor do they want to bring in. And broadly speaking, there are like two types of investors. There's a financial investor. And a financial investor is really an investor who's looking at, making a return on the investment. And one of the key things that they are concerned about is the value in which they get in and the value in which they get out. I mean, a financial investor at some point is looking at getting out, or is essentially looking at getting a return periodically, whether it's through a dividend, whether it's through, whatever kind of payment that cash flow payments that come to them. So once you start understanding the type of investor, you will then be able to understand, what is important to them. The other type of investor is really a strategic investor. A strategic investor is someone who is looking at, incorporating you as a contributor to their strategy. For example, maybe there is someone who's running a business, and they've seen that they need to enhance their distribution. So they're producing, certain products, they're producing cordials. They've got a factory in Zimbabwe, in Harare, or in Johannesburg, or wherever. And then they're saying, look, I need to find a better solution to distribute my products. And then they look at acquiring a distribution type of business, and for example, I mean, the landscape has changed so much because of this COVID pandemic, and so many people have set up, last mile type of distribution businesses, where they've got a digital platform, they've got a network of scooters or small little trucks that are going around and things like that. So for a person who is a manufacturer, they may say, you know what, instead of me continuously selling into the retail store only, let me also consider a new distribution channel where I get into trying and distribute and drop things
transport and logistics business or something.
Exactly, and someone could decide that, look, I don't have the time or the expertise to develop that arm of the business, so let me acquire that business. So then they go out and start looking, and there you are, you're an entrepreneur, you've been working on your business for 3-4 years, you've got a fleet of 100, 200 scooters, they go out, you've got a good app that people use to distribute their products, and then they see you and they start having a conversation with you and saying, you know what, I'm interested in acquiring a stake in your business. And because of the different types of investors, you need then to think about, does this work for you or not?
Fantastic. So this what you are explaining is also good for the person who is looking either to cash out or to look for some investors to think about who could be looking for a business like mine, and how could that business add value to current businesses that might need that service or product that you're producing in your company, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to add on, when an investor looks at your business, as I said, we talked about, is there a market, is there a strong need, do you have a competitive advantage? But people, especially for established business, and again, it depends where you are in your journey. If we look at an established business, people are looking at, okay, fine, you are promising me a story of profits and earnings generation, or a distribution, opportunity for me, right? I want to be able to see how credible your story is. I want to see how you've done in the past couple of years, So no matter how small your activity is at this stage, we need to make sure that we're focused on the things that we have set ourselves to do. I mean, let's not mix up businesses,
all right,
business activities into one. Because when someone now wants to look at your past performance, they get confused. Okay, what are you really into? Are you into that? Are you into that? Are you into that? So even if you want to run multiple businesses, make sure that they're quite established and they're quite distinct. And someone can be able to come and see, okay, fine. When you started off, you started by producing 1,000 units. In your first year, you moved to 1,000, to 12,000. From 12,000, you went to 52,000. A story can be developed. And oh yes, this is the revenue that you generated. This is the earnings that you generated. Even if it made a loss in the first couple of years, it's still fine. But people want to see a credible story of the business. That yes, this business started off, it was servicing the Bari market. It then grew into the Greater Harare market. From Greater Harare, they established the products now went to Bulawayo. From Bulawayo, they started pushing products into Zambia, into Botswana, South Africa, and at some point, they got a contract to supply into China. And that's why he's now asking for money so that he can grow his business to be able to service the China market. But before you start telling me about the China market, I want to see your service of Mbare, of Greater Harare, of Bulawayo, of Zambia, Botswana, so that I can be convinced that, yes, I think you can be able to, attack the China market.
Wow. So you need to have an established story of the past that people can look at and actually see that this is what happened. Could it be that you are also talking about maintaining financial statements, different bank accounts, sort of things, so that you don't mix your family issues with your business? Could you please talk a little bit about that a little bit more? Because I know you just passed by, but I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs have, we see lucrative opportunities here, and then we take this one, we see another lucrative opportunity, and then we mix up, and then the money here goes there. And talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So really, at the end of the day, as an investor, you are looking for someone who's got very high levels of integrity and credibility. You don't want, when given the opportunity to invite someone into your business, end up saying, no, don't consider that that one was it was this kind of deal, or this money I had to pay for so and so and things like that. Let it be clear that, okay, fine, this money that is coming in, this is my investment into the business, and this money that is coming out, these were actually dividends, so let not payments of different things, buying cars and whatever for your home, if it's for the business, fine. But for your home, unless it's a car that is being bought as part of a package and things like that, there's a link to the business, it's fine. So it's very, very critical for entrepreneurs and for businesses to make sure that their financial records are very well kept, and they're distinct. There is a story that you can be able to highlight to people. This is where I came from. This is where I am. This is how much I spent. And it's a pity at times, Uno, that people come and start looking for financing, and they've got no idea how much they've actually spent on their business or private the previous years, and they get a raw deal because they've no basis of defending what the value that the business has at that particular point in time. And really, if a business is being led by an entrepreneur, no matter what level, no matter if it's $100 million business, $1 billion business, there are always those nuances of entrepreneurs doing other transactions within their businesses, which could end up being a problem when you want to attract investors out from out there. And then one other critical thing to highlight, Uno, is that it is very, very important to establish systems and teams. In other words, it will be good if you can demonstrate that the business can be able to run on itself, even without your involvement as an entrepreneur. As I said at the beginning, there should be that separation between the entrepreneur and the business. So building teams is very important. You need to build credible, good teams, non-conflicted teams, and I know at times we run a lot of family businesses, and within those family businesses, we need to make sure that their structures and the systems, that are in place that make people recognize that the business is different from family finances that people can just take. So that's one important area, and especially building the team. As an entrepreneur, at times we want to be the star, the hero in our businesses. We've got 5 phones on our desks. Everyone is just calling us. Even when I'm driving, I'm on my phone. Everything. I'm the center of all decisions in a business, all decisions in the operations. No. People should be empowered within the business. There should be a team under you that even if you're not there, the business can run. Those are the things that attract an external person to come into your business.
Wow. So people, so teams and systems.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it and you elaborated a lot on the team side. And thank you for noting that you don't want to just be the center of attraction and then lose the investment that you were going to get in the future, because without you, things won't move.
That's
Talk
right.
a little bit about the systems side. What do you mean by systems, Shingi? And how can an entrepreneur start on working on improving the systems in their business?
Right. Okay. So when I talk about systems and processes is just the way we do things here. The way we do things at grand scale, the way we do things at whatever enterprise. It is very, very important that, say, a new person is joining your business. They've got a reference point in terms of understanding, okay, fine, right. When a client comes into, or a customer comes into the shop, this is how we do it. We greet them, how can I help? What is it that you're looking for? All those things are actually documented. This is how our customer relations works in business, and this is how we produce our product. These are our suppliers. This is how we vet our suppliers to ensure that the raw materials we're getting into our businesses, they're of good quality. This is how we run our production. There is a system, and there is procedure manuals that show that, okay, fine, when we run, we switch on our machines at this time, we mix the caustic soda with the dye, these are the quantities that are mixed, and this is how things are produced, and all the way to the product being produced. And this is how we go to the market. This is how we keep inventory, and our sales guys, this is how they engage with customers, and you come across businesses where, yes, as a customer, customers can be finicky. They can be, they can be too overbearing and things like that. But you are the one who wants the customer's business. So your people should be trained in how to interact with the customer. And my apologies. There probably has been a misunderstanding and and all these things are documented. How you deal with customers, how you deal with suppliers, how you deal with your finances, how you deal with inventory, how you deal with products. Those are the systems that when an investor comes in, they can be able to tell that, what, today I met so and so. This is how. This is what they told me about what they do. Tomorrow I went on the shop floor. Then yesterday I went on the shop floor. I met so and so, and what they were saying was consistent. And all of these things are consistent with the CEO or the entrepreneur. We can be able to see that there's a thread in the way things are done within that business. So yeah, that's essentially systems.
My friend, the way you explain, the way you make things sound and look so easy, the way you explain complex matters and simplify them for the entrepreneur is absolutely amazing. And I see comments here. Thank you, Esther, for being here. Lance Miambuki. Thank you, man. Hey, Mr. Maniere, Itai, Tinani, we see you. Thank you so much for coming in. We want to get to a place where I think you should consider, I'm not sure, but maybe I think you should consider some book writing of some sort after this Executive MBA is done, because the way you explain, my friend, could be of so much value for so many people. And I'm sure many business schools would love to, use your expertise in these areas to simplify things. Now, I want to open this up for you that are listening and you that are watching. For if you've got any questions, please type them up on the comment section wherever you're watching from, YouTube or Facebook. Just type in and we'll be able to see what questions you have for Shingi Mujaji, a Chartered Financial Analyst, a Chartered Accountant, an investments space guru here that we have for this limited space of time. Please do ask questions. Now,
yeah. So just to comment on your remarks about book writing. Someone told me that, look, the only way that you can outlive yourself, is through a book. After you're long gone, we'll be able to read the good books that you have written, and they can be passed on from generation to generation. That reminds me of, we are reading books of people who have since left, the Dale Carnegies and all of those people, So yeah, I mean that's a good challenge. We hope
good consideration.
Yeah, we hope to get there at some point. But one other thing I just wanted to highlight, is that just to challenge ourselves as business people, as entrepreneurs, to think long term, to think very, very long term. So when you're looking at your business, let us not think just the short term, what it is managing to pay, which bills it's managing to pay. Let's think long term. Let's think 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 years from now. What does it look like? What does success look like in that business? Because then that will help you develop a strategy for the business.
Most definitely. Thank you very much for that, Shingi. Shingi, there's I know that many people that are watching today are also interested in not only the subject matter that you are discussing, but your journey in the corporate space, where you started in as an audit associate, now to a corporate finance associate, then you went into investments and ended up as a principal. You will have to explain a little bit more about that. And now to the levels that you are, what do you think? I mean, it's a 15-year journey, but it's seriously accelerated when you look at the number of things you have done, the deals, and whatever it is that you have managed to do. How have you managed to get to this level where academically there's so much you have done, and also in your experience, in your field of expertise, there's so much you have done? What are some of those key nuggets that you think that have led to where you are now?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if I was to go back to the Shingi 15 years ago, trying to think whether I would have seen myself where I am at here. Maybe, yeah, to
I can definitely say yes, because I was there back then. Whatever you're doing now is not new to me. It's just like, oh, now it's done. Okay, yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's really important to probably spend time in understanding, what drives you, what's your purpose, what would God have you to do, because really it's purpose that kind of motivates us and that essentially drives us beyond the money, beyond anything else. It's what is it that kind of drives you. And I'm not surprised to see you doing this, and to see you writing books, because I also knew, back then that, these are the things that drive Uno, and I'm not surprised, and I'm so happy to see you doing, empowering people the way you are, whether through books, whether through motivation, the trainings, and also a show like this. One of the things that I can just highlight is that we underestimate the things that we can do in 5 years and overestimate the things that we can do in a year. Times we put so much pressure on ourselves from a short-term point of view and not give ourselves the room to be able to discover ourselves, because give room to discover yourself, at the end of the day, don't be anxious taking certain steps, take a step, see if it works for you. If it doesn't, just, move on. How do you test that the water in a bathtub is good for you? I mean, you put your hand, isn't it? So the only way to be able to say, okay, fine, I need to add more hot water, or I need to add more cold water, is for you to actually put your foot or your hand in there. So my advice is to, if you're thinking of something now, don't spend 5 years trying to think about it, and because you're wasting a lot of time. Try it out and see if it works for you. If it doesn't work for you, you can always reconfigure, because it's like a car when it's driving at night. And you're going on a journey 800 kilometers away. There is no way that you have lights that will beam the whole road 800 meters away. You can only see the next 5 to 10 meters. That which you can see, drive through it, and then you'll be surprised. Once you get to the 10 meters, you can see the next 10 meters up until you get to the 800 kilometer destination.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love how you have put in so many nuggets in such a short space of time. We've got 2 questions here, Mr. Mujaji. First one is coming from Mr. Tipe Nyasha, and he is saying, please explain the pain points that Zim businesses are facing and how can small businesses survive and attract more investments to grow. It can also apply to South African and the world's small and medium enterprises. That's the first one. And then the second one, maybe we can just go through them and then you can answer them once and for all. And the second one is, from your experience, when we talk systems, what are the must-haves for a small entrepreneur who may not be able to get everything documented? Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Those 2.
All right. So the question from Tipe, at the end of the day, a business is about a need, right? Even in a very unstructured, chaotic environment or economic collapse, there'll always be need for certain services, that we can take advantage as entrepreneurs and as businesses. Yes, it's going to be a challenge, but that's part of the game. I mean, the challenge is all over, even in the US, even in the UK, where we think that the economies are more developed. They also have different types of challenges for the businesses to go up. So my encouragement is identify that need and find ways of fulfilling that need. Yes, the challenge that we have within our African economies, and it's not only Zimbabwe, I mean, a lot of our economies in Africa are so informal, and there is no consistency even in policies and things like that. All those are challenges. There's foreign currency challenges, there's macro and micro challenges in all of this. But people are establishing businesses in there, and they are businesses that are growing. I mean, we all know of our own businesses in Zimbabwe that have been born and bred within the environment that we are in, and they've still managed to grow. We know even of international companies and banks and whatever, that are still doing business in Zimbabwe or in any other challenging market. It's because there is still a need. And where you're going to differentiate yourself as an entrepreneur is how you're going to harness that need and fulfill it. And as you do that, make money for yourself and for your shareholders. Then the second question, Uno, is about look, how do I make sure that I cover the basics? Really, as you start, record keeping is simply putting a record of what you have done or what you have spent. Whether you are writing it on a piece of paper or in a counter book, you have already started. That is as basic as it can get to. Now, one can say, look, but I'm not an accountant or I'm not familiar with accounting. That's where relationships come handy. You reach out to a person who's got that kind of background and say, look, this is my counter book. These are my entries for the last 1 month. This is what I've done. Can you help me put this, make business sense of my transaction? And we underestimate the power that we have and the capacity we have in being able to understand business. I mean, for example, just go to Mbare Msika now Uno and do a transaction with a go-go at Mbare who's selling wrap. They'll be able to tell you, and you try to negotiate with them hard on the bundle of wrap that you are selling. They'll be able to tell you that they would, no, Mkwasha, you go to the next one because I cannot accept this price that you're giving me because I will not then be able to reorder tomorrow morning for me to be able to sell and make a profit, So, and just use that little knowledge that you have and start building on it and start reaching out to your network and empowering yourself to understand more about the business, and I'm happy, GSM, those are some of the things that they're out there to do to empower people on understanding businesses and how they can be able to grow their businesses.
Thank you so much for that. And the final question here that has come through, I'm sorry, Bakurira, I'm not going to be able to take yours because of our time. But for Caroline, maybe Shingi, you want to double it up. Caroline is saying, in your career, this is back to you. What is one of the most challenging situations you have dealt with? In the investment space, maybe, or and how did you manage to deal with it? And then Vakurira is saying, is cryptocurrency trade a viable option for SMEs in Zimbabwe at the moment? And then we can wrap it up.
Right. Okay. So the most challenging period or decision that I've ever had to make, that's an interesting question. But I think it's more about the challenge that I probably have had over the years is probably deciding on the next move, because at times you're not sure whether it's going to bring value or not. It's going to make sense or not, and probably managing that urge of being frustrated with a certain situation, but there's no opportunity, to go forward, So managing those points in life were kind of the most challenging for me. But I thank God that, he's been faithful and he's always come through. And the things that I've learned that came out of those situations is that it helped me discover more of myself. It helped me discover more of, what really drives me and what really is important to me. So even in the darkest times, there are still lessons to be learned. So it's really managing the career decisions and the career transitions where that was more difficult for me. And then on the questions of cryptocurrencies, look, I'm not an expert in that. I will choose not to probably respond to that question. It's really a new phenomenon that is out there. I would urge him to probably do a little bit more research, try and reach out to people who are more experienced in that area and get advice.
Mr. Shingi Mujaji, thank you so much for coming through to the Grand Scale Motivation Show. I can tell you now that just judging by the people who are watching and engaging on this show, this is one of the most highly engaging shows that we've held. And seeing these questions tells me right now that this is something that people have been looking forward to. And this information that you're sharing now is definitely going to change some business, some person's life. So thank you so much for sacrificing your time. I know it's not just this hour that you've sacrificed. You had to spend some time thinking about, how you're going to move around your Valentine's Day. So please thank Rumbi and the kids for me and say, thank you for sacrificing this hour. You might as well now go and enjoy the rest of Valentine's Day, Mr. Mujaji. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you so much, Uno. All the best for Grand Scale Motivation. We're looking forward to the next series, the next book, the next workshop, the next training. You're doing so well in empowering us. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. I hadn't mentioned Sistinani Mafusire there. See you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, everybody. Wherever you are from the world, you've been watching the Grand Scale Motivation Show. We are here to empower you to take your business and your personal life to the next level. And we thank you for keeping on supporting our show. We will have more and more of this every Sunday. So thank you so much for coming through. Please watch. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please like our Facebook pages and make sure that you continue to grow from one level to the next. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon.